ci ñuy mën a am ci logement ci dëkk bi muy nekk loo xam day nekk façon direct pas muy nekk indirect ñu jàppale ñu ci loolu daal moo nekkoon sama bëgg-bëgg merci beaucoup.
Hi, my name is Shehuna Joe. I'm truly happy to be here. Um, in my community, including myself, many times when we inquire about housing or apartment issues, if it's done via email or if it's done via message, it's usually not a problem. However, when we appear physically, then it becomes a problem. Um, we would like for the council to make it more flexible within whatever power is available within your discretionary. That way, we can it, that they can be a solution to pretty much the discrimination that takes place within that. I believe that's what he's trying to say.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Clear what I'm doing. Okay, clear. Okay.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Goran Jai. I want to speak about what it means to try to build an education and career while also trying to keep a stable place to live. I'm currently a student while also working to support myself. I go to school to BMCC. I'm passionate about financial market strategies and building business that create values. So my long term is to combine finance and entrepreneurship to develop impactful projects in the future. Like many immigrants I know, I'm trying to do everything at once: study, work, and manage rent in one of the most expensive city in the country. Because of that pressure, many of us end up sharing rooms and subletting space, not because we want to, but because it is the only way to survive financially. That kind of housing situation affects everything. It is hard to focus on school when you are worried about whether your living arrangement will change next month. It is hard to plan for the future when your housing depends on informal arrangement that can shift it anytime. I have also seen how housing instability can become worse when people do not fully understand their right or the housing systems. Some tenants accept unfair conditions or sudden change because they are afraid of losing the only place they have, especially when communication is unclear or there is a language barrier. Amaduli Foundation has been very important in their regard. They help people understand city systems in a way that is clear and practical. They explain housing information, connecting people to resources, and translate key information so we can actually make informed decisions instead of guessing or relying on others who may not have our best interest in mind. For many of us, they are the first place we turn when something about housing or service is confusing. The certification of harassment programs is also important because it recognizes that housing instability is not just about rent, it is also about whether people are being pressured or pushed out in ways that are not always visible. When tenants are protected from harassment, they are more likely to stay stable long enough to finish school, keep working, and build a future. Thank you for these programs. I hope you can also provide clear and accessible support system and guidance we can actually use when we are under pressure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay. Good job. Tudo bem, Ana? Amarje. Okay. Hi, my name is Amarje. I'm truly grateful for this opportunity and thank you for being here to listen to what we have to say. I want to speak about respect, communication, and safety in housing situations, especially for immigrants. In many cases, the problems faced are not always visible or direct. They often come from fear, misunderstanding, and lack of clear communication. When someone does not fully understand English, even simple housing issue can become confusing and overwhelming. People may not know their rights or may not be able to clearly explain what is happening to them. One of the biggest fear in our community is what can happen when tenants speak up. There are situations where people feel that if they complain about rent increases, poor conditions, or unfair treatment, they risk retaliation. Some tenants even fear that landlord or brokers may try to involve immigration authorities as a way to pressure them or to force them out. Whether or not it is openly stated, this fear exists, and it makes many people stay silent even when they are being treated unfairly. This is why protection is not just about housing laws. It is also about what happens when situations escalate beyond housing. I want to highlight the importance of reinforcing the Amadou Lee Foundation Habeas Urgent Response Program. In our community, this program has supported families in moments where someone was suddenly detained by ICE, including situations where people believe the detention may have been triggered after housing or community disputes. In those moments, families are often confused, afraid, and completely unsure when their loved ones is or where their loved one is or what steps to take. The Amadou Lee Foundation steps in quickly to locate individuals, provide guidance, and connect families to legal support. That rapid response is often the only resource or source of clarity in a very chaotic situation. So for many of us, knowing this support exists changes how safe we feel when speaking up. It means that if reporting housing harassment or unfair treatment ever leads to immigration enforcement consequences, there is an organization that will respond, guide us, and help protect our right in real time. This is why reinforcing the Habeas Urgent Response Program is so important. It gives people the confidence that they're not alone if things go wrong after they report harassment or unfair treatment. Thank you.
Thank you to this panel, and I just want to underscore, discrimination in this city is illegal. And you have rights. No matter your immigration status, it does not matter. And so if you don't feel comfortable, or if you know people who do not feel comfortable making the complaint, Amadou welcome you to, again, contact me, right? Contact my office, contact any of your city council members, because we are here to defend you. You know, and the biggest barrier sometimes is that education and knowing what the rights are. But since you are here today, you should know and bring it back to the rest of the community that you break bread with, that is your family. You let them know they have rights, and we're here to defend and protect. So thank you so much for your testimony today. I hear you on the advocacy for the budget. We have our deputy whip here today, who is in key conversations, and it's very important that you're here today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Li mu wax mooy li nga xam ne moom lañ ñëw wax ni dafa important waaye tamit li mu ci bëgg a teg mooy ñoom dañoo jug pour protéger leen. Donc képp koo xam ne daf ci am problème wala lu mel noonu wala nga dëkk fenn ñu lay buntu xatal moom nee na mën ngeen ko woo directement wala ngeen jaar ci man su ko defee ngeen wax ko directement ñoom ñu def ci luñ ci war a def képp nag la ci wax nee na parce que dëkk bi dafa am yoon te yoon bi dañ ko war a topp donc ñoom ñoo mën jëlee ci loolu donc loolu la bëggoon ma baaxee leen ko di aussi remercier leen ci li ngeen ñëw fii pour wax. All right léegi nañ bàyyi yeneen groupe bi ñëw toog. Beneen groupe yor papier mën ngeen ñëw.
Okay. The next group is Modou Diop, Tierno Diaye, Alpha Balde, Serigne Faye, Mamadou Niang.
Ku yoroon papier Serigne Faye?
And Ibrahima Diallo.
Ibrahima Diallo. Okay.
Later you have to give me a grade on how my pronunciation is.
Nah, I think you're doing fine. I think you're doing, because trust me, you're doing fine actually. I warned them earlier. I thought, yeah. Huh? Bantu. Kan mo yung document Serigne Faye? Okay, dama talk up in your hall. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Abdou Tal. I want to speak about how quickly stability can, I'm sorry, this is on behalf of him, Abdou Tal, who is apprehended. My name is Abdutal. I want to speak about how quickly stability can disappear and how everything becomes connected: housing, work, family, and safety. On October 22nd, 2025, I was apprehended by ICE on Canal Street. It was sudden, confusing, and frightening. In a moment, I went from trying to live my life and work to being taken away without understanding why. My friends and family did not know where I was. I did not know what would happen next. A video of my arrest was captured and spread online. It went viral. People across the country saw me being taken away. And because of that attention, when I was finally released, that video also went viral. But what those videos do not show is what happens in between. When someone is detained, housing stability can collapse immediately. Rent cannot be paid, rooms are lost, and families are left trying to survive without support. Everything you were building can disappear in a matter of days. The Amadou Lee Foundation stepped in when I had no one else. They filed a habeas petition, sent commissary funds, challenged my detention, and stayed in contact with my family the entire time. They made sure that I was not lost in the system. On Christmas Day, 2025, I was released and reunited with my friends and family. I'm standing here today because of that intervention. And I want to be clear. My case became visible because it went viral, but many others do not. There are many people who are detained quietly, without cameras, without attention, and without anyone knowing their names. The Amadou Lee Foundation continued to step in for those people too. They have helped many detainees in our community, people who would have otherwise remained lost in the system, by challenging unlawful detentions and helping them bring back to their families. I also want to thank the members of the council members who came out and protested when I was arrested. I did not have the chance to meet you at that time, but your support matters. What happens to me has created fear in the community. When people see someone taken like that, it makes them feel afraid to speak up. Even in housing situation, if someone is facing harassment or unsafe conditions, they may stay silent because they're afraid of what could happen next. That is why laws like the Certification of No Harassment program are important, because they help protect tenants from being pushed out. But protection alone are not enough if people are too afraid to use them. This is why it is critical to strengthen our foundation so we can actually, so they can be more comfortable presenting. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. But remind them they can speak too.
So bëggee
That way they hear
mën
each
nga
other.
waxal li nga xam ne moom moo xew ci sa case après man ma translate ko waxal rek sa situation nu mu commencé comme dañu jàppee yooyu da ngay nuyoo. Oh, sorry, the mic. Yeah.
Assalamualaikum. My name Alin Sembe. Man nag li mu metti mooy dama fay ñëw ànd fekk sama famille mais kenn du prothèse du dara parce que dama dem uy ji immigration ñu yóbbu ma détention gisuma sama famille nekk ci ay situation yoo xamante ni xëy na bu duloon nag Amadou Ly mi foofu duma fa génne te en même temps ci celte lay dund ba tey ji ma bëggoon ku ma jàppale ci loolu pour ma mën a nekk ak sama famille daal.
nan ngay dundee chalte bi
saate ma
la
nekk
ci
tamit
neexul
si dañ fay am ay problème parce que lekk biñ fay adopté wu boobu adopté wu ñu ko su vaut mieux que dañuy mujjee génn dem di uti feneen lekk.
Okay. Hi, my name is Aliwin Simben. I came to America with my family. Ñaata doom nga am?
am naa ñaari doom.
I have two kids, and I live in a shelter right now with my family. Previously, I was detained by ICE when I went for a check-in. Had it not been for the Amadou Lee Foundation, I probably wouldn't be here. But what I would like to also speak about is that at the shelter, we face many hardships. One of those is the food that is given. Many times we cannot eat those foods. Sometimes, la moo nekk ci lekk bi?
non lekk bi dafa adopté wu rek maanaam ñun lekk bi ñu bëgg. Souvent toujours bu jot dañu koy jox dañ koy dem tuuri si koo xamante ni maanaam liggéeyul.
At times, the food is frozen. At times, the food isn't adapted to what the kids should eat. And he's asking that they could be, it would be awesome if they can take in consideration those things and make it better. But that he is grateful that he has a place to live, that he is welcome also in his place as well, and his family. That's what he wanted to say. All right.
Thank you. How do you say thank you?
Jërëjëf.
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 See? Jërëjëf.
All right. Da ngay liir wala ma liir la?
ma jàll nga liiram
Man nga liir. Dégg nga kii
dégg ma anglais
Modou Diop. Modou Diop est-ce que doo wax li nga xam ne moo nekk ci yow du xam nga lu ci nekk?
xam naa ko.
Waxal olof. Na ngi nuyoo.
asalaamaaleykum maa ngi tudd Modou Diop maa ngi dëkkoon ci salte bu ñuy wax 316 Atlantic Avenue si Brooklyn waaye dama fa am ay jafe-jafe yu métti lool ndax joxoon ma sama yelleef parce que mën naa ne def naa fa luy war a toll si 6 mois léegi nag samay kayit dañ ko sànni sama kayit immigration dañ ko sànni sama work permit dañ ko sànni sama social dañ ko sànni sama yére tamit dañ ko sànni en même temps dañ ma mujjee génn foofu def naa si mbedd mi ñaari fan door dem binduwaat pour mën a amaat beneen kër te même fi ma nekk tamit su ma amoon lu ma gën a nekk si kër gu normal parce que maa ngi fay dund ay jafe-jafe yu xaw a compliqué daal su ma amoon lu ma gën a ñu jàppale ma pour ma mën a am dëkkuwaay en même temps soxla woon naa avocat tamit pour sama wàllum kayit yeeg yooyu noonu.
Hi, my name is Modou Diop. I'm going to cheat and look at the documents, right? So don't mind me. My name is Modou Diop. I'm here to share my experience after living in the shelter system for 3 years. And I would like to thank you, the council, for listening to us and for taking your time. We truly appreciate it. I would also like to urge your support into intro 1630 T2026, 1639, and T2026, 1582 to make the certification no harassment program permanent and expand its protection. During my time in the shelter, I have experienced serious instability. My belongings, including clothing and important documents, were thrown away, and I was moved from one shelter to another after not being notified. This made it difficult to maintain stability or move forward with my life. Many of us in shelters are there because we were pushed out of housing in the first place. As an immigrant, I have seen how fear and vulnerability are often used against people. Tenant harassment happens when landlords try to force people out of their homes by making life difficult or scary, like refusing repairs, using threats, or treating tenants unfairly. For immigrants, this can be even worse because some people are afraid to speak up or may not know their rights. I also faced discrimination and favoritism in the shelter system. At times, it felt like residents were not treated equally and decisions were made without explanation. I experienced religious discrimination as well. Personal religious items, including the Qurans and other symbols, were discarded. This raised serious concern about whether our rights are respected at these stages from housing to shelter. The rules in shelters were also very strict. Missing curfew could result in being forced to wait in isolation, adding stress to people already trying to rebuild their lives. These conditions shows what can happen when people lose stable housing due to lack of protection and accountability. Organizations like the Amadou Lee Foundation have been a lifeline when landlords attempt to take advantage of immigrant tenants, sometimes by forcing them out without legal process or using intimidation. We turn to them for support. They provide critical know your rights information and help us understand what these actions are that these actions are a form of tenant harassment, not legal evictions. Because of their intervention, many families have been able to remain in their homes instead of being displaced. This is why the certification of no harassment program is so important. It is like a checkpoint. Before landlords can do major renovations, they must prove they did not harass tenants. This helps stop landlords from pushing people out just to make money. Please make this program permanent and expand it and expand it to more people. I urge the council to pass these bills and strengthen protection against tenant harassment so that fewer people, especially immigrants, are forced into the shelter system in the first place. I also urge the council to please provide language access to the Amadou Foundation so that there can be an outreach and these bills can be explained to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Come on.
Da ngay wax olof
Jërëjëf.
little.
Jërëjëf.
Yeah.
Jërëjëf.
Thank you.
Elijah? Okay. Good afternoon, council members. Thank you so much for being here and for listening to us. My name is El Hajindo. I want to speak about what it means to work hard every day but still live with uncertainty about housing and income. I work in security, and like many immigrants I know, I'm constantly adjusting to unstable schedules and temporary assignments. Some weeks there's enough work and other weeks there's still very little. Even when you are employed, the income is not always stable enough to guarantee steady housing, especially in a city where rent changes quickly and costs keep rising. I also want to share something many people do not talk about: the challenge of not finding work, but understanding how to move forward in work. Many immigrants are ready to do more, but job system, training programs, and applications are often not explained in language they fully understand. This makes it difficult to move from survival jobs into stable careers. This is why I strongly support the idea of the workforce program proposed by the Amadou Lee Foundation that is language friendly. When job training, job fairs, and employment guidance are explained in language people actually understand, like French, like Wolof, like Pulaar, or others in our community, it changes everything. It means people are not just working randomly to survive, but actually learning how to build a stable path forward. I have personally benefited from the Amadou Lee Foundation. They helped me find job opportunities when I was struggling, and they also informed us about important updates that affects work and immigration status. For many of us, they are the bridge between systems that are hard to understand and real opportunities we can actually access. The certification of no harassment program also matters because housing instability are connected. When someone loses housing or is under pressure, it becomes even harder to maintain employment. And when income is unstable, it becomes even harder to protect housing. This is why we need both protections and opportunity together. But opportunity only works when people can understand it. A language access workforce program would help thousands of us move from temporary survival jobs into stable employment. C'est bon.
Thank you. Jërëjëf.
Dégg nga wax olof mën nga wax olof ah waaw waxal olof jox ma ko après nga wax olof non jox ma ni thank you.
Salaamaaleykum.
Aleykum salaam.
maa ngi nuyu kenn ku ne si turam ak santam di gërëm Amadou Ly di gërëm ñi toog nii ñëpp parce que yombul tamit aussi quoi xëy na tamit sama wax tamit day xaw a doy waar moo tax ma bëgg mu translate di ma ko mais am na benn message bu ma bëgg a jàllale parce que man Uber laay liggéey vélo laa yor benn jour dama am benn accident bu ma metti boo xamante ni nii daa am benn américain noir bu mu mbëkk daf ma mbëkk mais après ma daanu gaañu mais ba léegi ñëwul ne masawuma mais dafa ñëw naan ma dama lay wool waa AS pour tiital ma man tamit si nit ki ma doon duma daw duma ragal parce que nit soo nekkee si yoonu dëgg waroo ragal si kaw loolu mu ñëw ne AS la may wool pour ma tiit pour mun a jóg dem bàyyi ko en tant que doomu aadama bi bànni doomu aadama bi nga gaañ ko ubbi sa porte oto mu dal si nga ñëw di ko menacer génneel ma barre de fer pour ma daw ma ne ko du ma daw police mujj na ñëw mais avant police di ñëw daf ma agressé xoñ ma ba am na ay américains yu jàlloon di lire vidéo bi ba mujj a posté vidéo bi par TikTok loolu nag dafa ma metti trop parce que dama ñëw fii tooñu ma sàccu ma defuma dara mais damay liggéey di daan sama doole pour dundal sama famille comprendre nga mais si kaw loolu da nga war a am sécurité parce que tey yow li ngay def li ngay liggéey da ngay dimbali ay nit parce que nit ñi dañuy toog seen kër xiif nga yóbbu leen luñ lekk léegi yow si kaw loolu yow da nga war a am sécurité mais des fois da ngay jànkuwanteeg yoo xam ne nii c'est pas logique dañ lay teg ay tort yoo xam dañ lay teg ay injustice yoo xamante ni nii doomu aadama même bu dee ñun duñu ay citoyen dañu war a respecter
dañu war a jox cër parce que dañoo ñëw si dëkk bi dëgg la dañoo tooñ bët frontières yi mais dañu jox àpp pour ñu gisante ak juge mais loolu warul tax ñi ñuy xokotal warul tax ñi ñuy manque de respect loolu daf ma metti parce que vidéo bee ngi TikTok ñu bëri xëy na war nañ ko mën a seetaan fii mais nit mënul xam ni man la
ok
te man su ma résisté woon dem naa police ba ñu ñëwee daa am benn blanc bu taxaw ne moom lii dara xewu fi te vidéo bi après par la suite am na ku vidéo imaginer ku gorgé nit jox ko.
xaaral ma wax leen li nga wax nii ma traduire la. So hi, my name is Mamadou Nya. My name is Mamadou Nya. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. I would like to highlight an incident that took place as an Uber driver. I was driving and then dañ la fël.
daf ma fel.
and someone ci oto la fële.
ci oto maanaam damay dawal di ñëw moom mu gaare ubbi portam.
So
mooy de réflexe man mënuma gis ba mu ubbi portam te fu mu ubbi portam baaxul.
As a Uber deliverer, I was riding and then a car hit me, and then the person that walked out of the car, instead of checking up on me, once they realized that I was an immigrant, they started making threats pretty much that are aimed, if you pretty much do anything, I will call ICE on you. And then what happened is when he tried to explain to the person that he was not at fault, that particular person actually proceed to actually assault him. So that's what he's explaining. And then he also explained that when people were there, but many people sort of didn't understand what was sort of happening. And I think this sort of highlights just the constant discrimination or the constant threat of ICE that they face, whether it's inside of these housing situation or even outside. There is a video that he's showing me where he's actually being assaulted. And he said the video went viral, but that this is a sample, but there are also many people going through this in housing situations where threats are made of ICE. It's a constant fear. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing the story. Yeah, it's exactly what we're trying to get at.
Yeah. Nee na jërëjëf ci li nga waxee loolu ñoom exactement loolu lañ bëgg a xeex.
It's not legal to discriminate against.
Parce que légalul pour kenn mën a am discrimination ci yow du loo xam ne loi bi daf ko nangu ñoom tamit loolu jug pour ñu xeex ko pour loolu mu dakk comprendre nga.
ok
yeah donc loolu la.
metti na ma trop parce que doguma la mais policiers yi bañ ñëwee.
waaw léegi may ñu ku ci nekk dafa am deux minutes.
ok sorry 1 minute
su jeexee.
policiers yi bañ ñëwee
yow yaay respecté loolu.
ok thank you.
ok
thank you.
All right.
thank you. thank you. jox ma téléphone.
léegi anglais bi xam naa dafay des a leer comme ça dama koy lire ci français après yow nga traduire ko ci anglais.
da nga koy lire ci français.
waaw
ok c'est bon.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs les conseillers. Je m'appelle Ibrahima Diallo. Ma première expérience avec le logement à New York n'a pas été de trouver un appartement, mais c'est le fait que je ne comprenais pas trop comment les prix variaient. Un jour, je me suis rendu voir une chambre. On m'avait parlé d'un prix. Une fois que je suis arrivé sur place, pendant que je me déplace pour aller sur place, on avait déjà augmenté le prix, voire même presque doublé le prix. Donc, par la suite, une autre fois, les mêmes faits se sont déroulés avec d'autres courtiers, d'autres agents immobiliers. C'est par la suite que la fondation Amadouli m'a expliqué qu'il s'agissait d'une expérience courante pour les nouveaux venus dans ce pays. Ceux qui ne connaissaient pas bien le système de logement et les structures de prix. Ils m'ont fait comprendre à quoi ressemblaient les frais légitimes et ce que devaient susciter les inquiétudes.
Cela a complètement changé ma façon d'interpréter les interactions en matière de logement. De ce point de vue, le programme de certification de non-harcèlement est important car il responsabilise les locataires dans les immeubles où ils ne comprennent pas pleinement leurs droits ou la pression s'accumule discrètement au fil du temps. Mais ce que j'ai surtout appris, c'est que le préjudice n'est souvent pas évident au premier abord. Il ne devient clair qu'après que les informations ont été expliquées, c'est qu'a essayé de faire la Fondation Amadouli, à travers laquelle on a compris plein de choses.
Thank you.
I think that one was Mercy, right? Mercy?
Yeah.
Mercy, right?
Mercy,
right.
yeah.
All right. I was
See
I was
that?
picking up. I was picking it up.
We're gonna get some French and Wolof going on here. You know what I'm saying? Good afternoon, council members. My name is Ibrahima Jallo. My first experience with housing in New York was not about finding an apartment. It was about understanding whether I was being charged fairly. I remember traveling to see a room where the price was already high, but once I arrived, additional fees were introduced that had not been clearly mentioned before. At the time, I did not question it because I thought it was standard. Later, I saw similar situations again, different listings, different brokers, but the same patterns of unclear costs and shifting conditions. The Amadou Foundation later explained that this is a common experience for newcomers, especially those unfamiliar with housing systems and pricing structures. They helped me understand what legitimate charges look like and what should raise concern. That changed how I interpret housing interaction entirely. From that perspective, the certification of no-harassment program is important because it creates accountability in buildings where tenants may not fully understand their rights or where pressure builds quietly over time. But what I learned most is that harm is often not obvious at first. It becomes clear only after information is explained.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, c'est bon. Léegi mën ngeen toog yéen ñi ñu ci chambre boobu ñu demoon après ñun ñi ngi ñëw léegi ñu pare benn moo ñu dese. Thank you.
But I am so curious what Mr. Mahmoud had to say about the police.
Yes. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Police bi léegi lan nga doon wax ci police bi.
ok man ba ma ñëwee exactly bañ ne dañuy woo police ba police ñëwee daa amoon benn waaju doon romb léegi américain noir bi xaw ma lan la parce que suñ la gisee nga nekk noir at nga nekk nit koo xam ne da nga bëtt boode bi pour ñëw fii duñ la jox benn cër duñ la jox benn crédibilité léegi nag blanc bi taxawoon foofu dane policiers yi fii dara xew fi parce que dañ ne am na ay témoins mais témoin boobu su dul woon vidéo bi tey jii nii bu doon policier gis nañ vidéo bi kon kooku témoin boobu duñ ko mën a dëggal parce que pour man en tant que doomu aadama dañ la war a njëkk a jox cër waru ñoo xool yow nit ki nga doon wala po bi nga doon man loolu laa gëm boog parce que banni doomu aadama bi moo ëpp solo lépp lu munti doon parce que dañu war a traité fii comme il faut mais pas que dëgg la dañoo ñëw si dëkk jàmbur xam nañ loolu mais niñ lay bëgg di traité te yow da nga ñëw pour daan sa doole gisuñ la ngay sàcc gisuñ la ngay def naka sul noonu mais dañ lay traité noo xamante ni du yoon.
léegi police bi lan la ci def.
policier bi ba mu ñëwee dafa laaj blanc bi ne ko fii dara xew fi te yow bu dee vidéo bi gis nga ko xam nga ni waaye daf ma gorgé kooku mënoon na ma rey.
léegi ba léegi dara xew ci.
ah
ba léegi nu mu mujjee affaire bi.
après damaa dem police ne ma da ngay jël si report bi ma dem police tamit bind ne papier bi ne dara xew fi.
loolu la ci bind.
waaw.
Okay, so he's stating that during the interaction, during the fight, the guy actually ended up choking him. And when the police came, he asked a witness, and some of them actually were still discriminating against him. And they told the police that nothing actually took place. Had it not been for that video, which actually shows him being choked and him going through that nothing would have been happening. And he said until today, nothing has been done as well. And he also said, I asked him what did the police do? Did they capture the individual? He said no, as well. And yeah, so yeah, that's what's going on.
Thank you for sharing the rest of the story.
No, I mean, just let them know that these kind of stories are important for us to hear. We're constantly having conversations with people like the police commissioner, right? We question folks all the time, and we work with their offices to really bring really the larger voice, right? Not individual, not so much the individual, even though this is very impactful to hear, but really how this spreads across multiple occurrences and how that really does impact systematic change, right? And so here we're finding out like there's an issue here with the police, with his job, with follow up, with being able to communicate with the people that are on the scene right there and there. Like there's so many levels to this that we can really address these things, and I'm just really grateful for the trust in sharing it with us in this moment, but hopefully entrusting that we will then take that on to do the work that is required to shift how people are feeling in these moments. So just thank you, and we're going to be working really hard on really addressing some of these like terrible experiences that you're having.
Thank you. Nena, ñëw bi nga xam ne moom nga ñëw fii at wax bi nga xam ne moom nga wax ni ñoom dafa am ñi nga xam ne ñooy ñëw parce que mooy laa leen wax sànq soo toogee wax ki nga xam ne mooy police commissioner bi mooy ñoom ñoo jiite mbirum police ñoom dañuy am ci ñoom yoon comme nit ñu toogee fii wax ñoom dañuy ñëw ñii tamit dañ leen laaj lan ngeen def liggéey bi ngeen def nan ngeen koy defee est-ce que yéen a ngi koy teg ci yoon nee na mu dégg ñoom ñu dégg lii ngay wax nii même su fekkee ne loo xam ne yow individu yow rek la dal day nekk loo xam ne day baax parce que dina ko mën a globaliser ci ñeneen ñi nga xam ne tamit dañuy wax am même jàngoro bu mel noonu donc parce que su boobaa dina mën a waxat ki nga xam ne mooy police commission wala ñi nga xam ne ñoo jiite yëpp ne leen lii at lii mi ngi xew ci communauté bii kat te lii at lii war ngeen ci andi saafara donc looloo tax mu ne bu baax nee na aussi mi ngi lay remercier ci ñi nga ñëwee pour mën a ibbeeku pour wax ko li nga xam ne moom moo nekk ci yow parce que loolu daf leen di jàppale ñoom pour seen liggéey nee na mënoo comprendre loolu wax yi ñuy wax ni nan la leen di jàppale parce que lu ci bëri dañuy dégg rek mais c'est bon yéen ngeen ñëw waxal ak seen bopp.
thank you jërëjëf defuma ko pour man mais pour communauté parce que dinañ ko def keneen ku dul man.
I didn't do it for me, but I do it for the community because I understand that I know they're going to do it to other people. So that's why I highlighted it.
Parce que man dinaa moytu ba dootuma dalati mais mën nañ ko def keneen koo xamante ni maanaam liñ ma def kooku mën naa faible ñu def ko loolu jël bakkanam te kooku mën na fekk njaboot bu bëri topp si ginnaawam te loolu day metti.
He said the reason why he's saying it is because if he does it to someone else and that person is a weak person and they choke him and he dies, then it's going to be that's why him trying to prevent those actions is why he's highlighting it.
Yeah, we should be clear. He shouldn't be choking anybody.
Thank you.
Nee na pour mu leer la kenn waraloo woon xoj.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I think our chair of immigration has to leave a little early.
Yes, I do. I'm actually going to be speaking to a commissioner, and we'll be bringing some of this up. But I just really want to take a moment to thank all of you for coming out. Thank you for organizing this and bringing them out. I know that this particular hearing is around tenant harassment, and we're seeing how this bleeds into everyday life for the folks that are here today. So thank you so much for sharing your stories. I will be reviewing a lot of this, and I have a meeting pending with you and the rest of you as well.
Table, right.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Nee na mi ngi leen di remercier pour ñëw bi ngeen ñëw nee na vraiment kontaan na ci donc moom dafa war a dem ñeneen dañ fi des mais moom dafa war a dem mais nee na mi ngi leen di remercier vraiment ci ñëw bi ngeen ñëw dafa war a dem waxaat beneen commissioner sax ci wàllum lii nga xam ne moom la ñuy wax ni donc mën nañ ko tàcc ñu remercier ko pour mu ñëw.
Okay. Thank you so much. There's more panel, right?
There's two more, I think.
Yes.
Kumba.
So we'll call them up.
Yeah, so we're almost done.
Papa Mama Tieng and Ibrahina Kiende.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's it.
Yeah. And just to repeat out loud too that I know you're taking the time, everybody who is here is taking the time to be here, but you represent so many who cannot take the time. And we take that seriously. We take that to heart. So absolutely, you know, I just want to again invite for the specifics. There's been shelters, conditions in shelters that have been mentioned. I want to know what shelters those are so we can route that to the proper channels. There have been instances of maybe it's police misconduct, maybe it's improper protocols followed. We want to know, and I want to know what those details are so we can help with the follow-up, okay? Because I
Okay.
don't just want it to be you come here, you testify, and then we never, you know, connect again, but how do we also follow up?
Okay, thank you. nee na li mu bëgg léegi mooy ñi nga xam ne dañoo ñëw fii wax affaire saleté wala yenn problème bi ñu jël leen moom mu def ci li mu ci war a def nee na pas ñëw bëggul nit ki rek ñëw wax fii kenn nee na léegi li mu bëgg mooy ñi nga xam ne wax nañ léegi seen problème yooyu ñu saafara ko léegi nii donc xam naa ne peut-être su jeexee yéen ñii dinaa seeni contact ñi nga xam ne wax nañ dinaa ko yónnee wala ma jox leen yéen contact am sax yéen ngeen aussi mën ko mais lu gën mooy ñu def ko ensemble donc nee na parce que lu daf ci bëgg mu def ci saafara mu jeex loolu surtout yéen problème yi ngeen am all right léegi ma liiral la wala da ngay liir ok.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Kumbasal. I want to speak about vulnerability during homelessness. When I first arrived, I experienced night without stable shelter. The most difficult part was not only safety, but knowing where to go for help or where support existed. Protecting women from homelessness also means having programs like the certification of no harassment program. WIF can help create long-term stability in safe housing, where tenants are not subjected to pressure or intimidation. In our community, we have seen many women experience mistreating by landlords, but they do not always report it because they fear consequences, especially when they are undocumented or unsure of their rights. There are also situations where landlords enter apartment without proper notice. Sometimes claiming they are fixing something when nothing has been requested or reported. The certification of no harassment program could help prevent this kind of experience by holding landlords accountable and reducing abusive practice. Lastly, the Amadou Lee Foundation helped me understand emergency housing, pathway, and legal support options. They also assisted families during detention emergency, helping reconnecting information when people were separated. That showed me how important rapid response is when systems fail to communicate clearly. The certification of no harassment program matters because it helps prevent people from entering homelessness through housing instability. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Papa Mama Cheng. Ma bëgg a expliquer benn situation bu may dund suñ kër nga xam ne depuis ci mois de mai côté le 15 mai dafa lakkan suñ kër gi dafa lakk basement bi moo lakk ñun ci kaw lañ dëkk mais tàkk-tàkk bi jotul egsi ci kaw bu baax mais bu lool amee gars yi dañuy ñëw couper courant bi couper ndox bi couper gaz bi couper lépp te boobu instant boobu noonu ñu ngi nekk di ci weeru Ramadan di woor amatul ndox amatul courant amatul dara boroom kër gi ak doomam jéem dem wuti ji hôtel nañu ñun dinañ leen wutal hôtel ñoon ci noonu wutaluñu hôtel tey suba après ñu ne ñu léegi da ngeen ñuy wut kër après ñu fayal leen ko le temps ñuy régler affaire yi ñu wut kër woo ko nangu ñoo jël ñu bàyyi mu sedd ñu demaat waxaat loolu mu waxaat ñu même chose di ko woo bu ñu waxee wut leen après dinañ leen fay buñ ko wutee ba am ko buñ ko wooyee duñu nangoo jël noonu la ñuy def ba après ñu bàyyi noonu mu sedd bi muy soog a am man fi may liggéeyee dafa jegeñee ak suñ kër comme amuñu ndox bu tàng te boobu jamono nees bi la amuñu ndox bu tàng bu ñu utiliser man maa doon mujjee di dem suñ place di root di indi pour gars yi sangu di ko utiliser mujjee gi loolu même man mii boobu ba léegi dama feebar situation bi ni mu demee nii dama feebar boobu ba léegi chaque jour damay baagantu hôpital ndax situation boobu noonu daf ma jàpp mujjee gi mu yóbbuñu ci beneen këram boo xam ne nii soriwul lool benn basement boo xam ne ñi ngi koy liggéey te pareegul situation bu doy waar boo xam ne nii gars yi ñu ngi koy dund foofu situation bu doy waar boo xam ne gars yi ñu ngi koy dund foofu amul dara foofu la ñu jël yóbbuñu fa naan ñëw tey suba ba semaine bi passé la waxaat beneen copain ne ko wutal leen kër ñu wut kër gi ba copain bi d'accord ak borom kër gi pour ñu dem foofu mu layaat ba jénn ci ba léegi nii ñu ngi foofu.
kon fi ngeen dëkk amul heater.
amul dara depuis ci koor gi ci moment nees bi ba léegi ñu ngi foofu moom njabootam jënd leen dem wuti hôtel man boobu ba léegi instant bi damay baax instant bi jël naa rendez-vous pour dindi sama ñaari bëñ ndax sedd bi jàpp mu ko jàpp pour dindi sama ñaari bëñ situation boobu doy na waat trop ba jàpp ne loolu baaxul sax ci image Amérique parce que loolu buñ ko nit lay feneen ñoom mën naa nekk du nekk général ci Amérique mais dina nekk loo xam ne nii mën na yàq deru Amérique loolu baaxul loolu situation boobu lañuy dund bëgg nañ am benn gaale boo xam ne nii par exemple ñun mën nañ fay ñu ngay buñ ñu wutee amee gaale parce que boobu ba léegi ñuy wut mais amuñu yombul boobu ba léegi ñu ngi wut mais yombul bu ñu amoon gaale tey ñun dañuy génn foofu noonu dem mais boobu ba léegi ñu ngi wut amuñu te situation bi ñuy dund nii baaxul parce que ñun ñëpp gënaluñu quoi. Merci beaucoup. Papa Mama Cheng.
Hi, my name is Papa Mama Chern. I live in Queens. I live in Queens with other friends of mine. In May of last year, there was a fire. We live in the basement. The fire was close to the basement, but it didn't really destroy the basement. The owner of the place actually took his kids and they left, and then they told us that we would be able to he will find other places for us. This was May. There's no heater, all right, through 2025, from May until now. There's no heater. There is no there's no electricity from May till now. There was difficulty with the water, but now the water is back, but still there's no heater. There's no hot water as well. He was forced to actually go to the place where he works, which is not far, so he would bring hot water so those people can actually take a shower. He said that because of the cold, his two back teeth, one day it was so cold that until now he goes back and forth to the hospital just so he can get some medical attention because it affected him. The landlord constantly tells them look for an alternative place, and whenever they find an alternative place, the landlord doesn't follow through with his promise of actually having to pay for that place. He said they're open to paying. It's been extremely difficult for them to actually find a place to live. That's what he wanted me to highlight as well. First of all, I'm just learning about this, but I think it just shows how, there's a lot of situations where even when I hear about it, it's like, wow, what, and I think it'll be awesome maybe if we can expand the language or outreach where we can actually remind people of some of the laws and how they can be protected. Because he's not alone. There's a lot of these guys sometimes. They live elsewhere. They'll come and they'll tell you stories and this is like, what? In America? So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that story.
Yeah, thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Ibrahim Kendo. ñu ngi leen di nuyu di leen jaajëfal di nuyu mboolem fi teew di nuyu sëñ Amadou Limi waaw ñun moom li ñu fi indi mooy dañuy bëgg a leeru rek suñu diggante ak avocat yi ñuy jël ci immigration bi ndax avocat yi da ngay ñëw ñu laaj la $6,000 wala $5,000 léegi ñu lay mensualité weer wu nekk nga leen di jox 250 wala 300 ci li nga waxante ak ñoom nga dem ba jox leen plus de 4,000 nga xam li nga leen di desal du bari waaye du la wax dara lu leer ndax man mii sax fan yi Amadou mi jot naa ko fay woo ba wax ak moom fekk sama avocat du may xam ci moom dara ba fan yi dama ko laaj ne ko waaw yow yaa ngi ma laaj $6,000 presque jox naa la plus de 3,000 xaw ma 4,000 te yow sama rendez-vous waxoo ma ci dara léegi nag ci la toog ne ma may ma tuuti toog 2 jours après envoyé ma message ni ma le 15 février 2028 laa am rendez-vous te léegi bi ma waxee loolu man it ma jàpp loolu ci laa woo Amadou Limi sax ba jox ko sama kii ID number mu ni ma yow non kii bi mënunoo dugg ci système bi moo waat sama beneen frère waxtaan ceeg moom mu ni ma yow amagoo juge waaw ñaari yoon xaw a kii ci sama bopp daal lëndëm ci sama bopp ndax kun la le 15 février 2028 ci nga am rendez-vous waaw léegi aussi am ñu waxate ma tamit bu ñu duggee ci kii bi système bi numéro baa ngi nii ñu ne ma yow amagoo juge ñaar yooyu daal di xaw a kii ci sama bopp parce que l'année dernière sax woo na ma fii ni ma dama am rendez-vous ma ne ko non comme man maa ngi xam man Texas laa nekk fa laa jógee fa la sama kees nekk ma ne ko léegi comme man dama bëggoon léegi nga move ko après ci la ma laaj $700 léegi bi ma laaj $700 bon léegi ni ma léegi mu toogaat 2 jours ni ma léegi move nañ ko ba jëmmi jamono booba nag déggaatuma ko ci laa ko woon nag di ko laaj ba mujj ni ma 2028 bii laa am rendez-vous te léeg-léeg bu ñu duggee système bi dana am amagoo juge loolu daal laa bëggoon a leerlu ak suñu diggante ak avocat yi ndax xamul loolu daal dañuy arnaqué wala daal ñu bëgg suñu loolu daal ndax dañ fay dugal suñu xaalis ku la laaj 6,000 nga jox ko plus de 4,000 wala nga te daanaka doo dégganteeg moom du la jox benn information bu leer daal moo loolu daal moo leen di suñu bopp daal. bëggoon ci ku ñu ciy dimbali.
jërëjëf tur bi.
Ibrahima Kend.
Thank you so much. My name is Ibrahim Ken. I'm here today because I would like to highlight some difficulty that a lot of our community members face. And it revolves around legal assistance in regards to immigration. I understand that this is probably not the right place, but I'll just translate just so we understand what he's just said. Many of these attorneys will ask these people $7,000, $8,000. And in the midst of that, when they respected, the issue that many of these people in our community face is that they cannot reach these lawyers. They would take a substantial amount of money, but when you try to reach them, you cannot reach them. A lot of these attorneys, he's given an example where he couldn't reach the attorney to understand when was his court date. So when he finally reached the attorney tried to sort of blow him off and tell him, hey, February 15th, 2028. And then he reached out to me, and then I looked at his appointment, and I said, you don't have an appointment yet, right? So he's saying that many in our community, and this is actually a very serious issue. I think Adam was trying to point this out at some point, where many of these attorneys, they accept money. However, they're hard to reach. Even when you're supposed to rehearse prior to attending an immigration hearing, you don't see them, right? So I think I'm sure, again, we're highlighting this, might not be the right place, but this is an issue in the community, and it's massive. It's like half of these people have that issue. And we know ones that are notoriously known for that. Yeah.
Thank you. On the case of the immigration attorney, it's not my area of expertise, but I think there is a question there about what role we can have in the sort of making sure that they are behaving with integrity, right? They have licenses, they have boards to be attorneys in the city, And so there should be a complaint mechanism for that kind of case. And in the story of the basement without the services, this is exactly the kind of building that CONH would apply to. They would not be able to secure permits in order to do any work if there's a finding that they're behaving in this kind of way. So I just want to make sure to get information about how big is the building that he's talking about to make sure that what we're trying to capture in CONH gets his kind of case. That
Got
makes
it.
sense.
nee na li nga wax noonu attends nee na li nga wax pour affaire avocat bi dafa am kenn ku ko toogoon foofu ma Elsie moo dem kooku ci kooku lañ ko doon wax moom lañ ko waroon wax donc dinañ defaat lu mel nii pour légal kese.
ok
comprendre nga. mais nee na dégg na la mais ñoom kële tamit jël na report mais yow ci li mu wax jox na la pour nga bind adresse bi mais nee na tamit loolu noonu nga ko wax nii ñoom dinañ fexe ba kër gii nga ko wax ñoom duñu mën a bénéficier ci cité bi loolu tamit la bindal ko adresse bi léegi nii. yaa ngi comprendre donc am naa yaakaar moom dina ma contacter sax pour mais comme soo leen ko bindalee jox leen ko si ñoom cité bi xam nga borom kër yi dañu cité bi par exemple dañu leen mën a fay donc léegi cité bi du ko def dafay nan borom kër gi da koy bokkoo ci maanaam doo bokk parce que da nga amoon li nga xam ne mooy côté discrimination wala li nga sa àkkat yelleef ci nit ki defoo ko yaa ngi comprendre. Yeah, he said even the insurance paid them, and they're fixing the place, but until today they're not. I mean, this is something that we're gonna have to look deeper into. But now that I'm aware, but I also wanted to highlight. I think we're done, right? I think we're done. I want to read the final testimony, which is I think me. Thank you again for taking the time to listen. My name is Amadou Lee, and I'm the founder of the My name is Amadou Lee, and I'm the founder of the Amadou Lee Foundation. What you heard today is only a small portion of what is happening in our community. There are many people here with us today who did not get the chance to speak. And beyond this room, there are thousands more. Driving taxis, making deliveries, working in home care, supporting hospitals, and keeping this city running every single day. They're contributing, they're working, but many feel invisible. Today is not the full story, it's an introduction to a community that is grateful to be here, but is still struggling to access systems that were meant to protect and support them. We had to turn away many people because there was not enough space or time. So that alone shows the scale of the need. That is why we are respectfully requesting a roundtable with the City Council so we can come together and fully discuss the issues raised here and the many that could not be shared today, because there is a disconnect. The city has invested in preventing homelessness and protecting vulnerable population, but many people are still falling through the cracks, still facing housing instability, still lacking clear information and still navigating fear. We also want to be clear about something. The greatest fear in many of our community is not just housing instability. It is what can happen when something goes wrong, when people are detained, when families are separated, when someone disappears in the system without answers. That is why we're asking for support in our urgent habeas response program. This program has helped secure the release of many individuals, not only Africans, but people from many communities who were unlawfully detained or at risk of being lost in the system. It has brought fathers back to their children, reunited families, and restored stability in moment of crisis. But right now, we are doing this work with limited resources. If people are expected to report harassment, unsafe housing conditions, or unfair treatment, they must also know that there is a system in place to protect them if that reporting leads to consequences. That is why our habeas program provides a safety net when everything else goes wrong. We are also asking for support for our workforce program. As you know, council member, many of these individuals are the Canal Street vendors, and many were impacted by the bill that was passed, which many felt excluded. A lot of these guys actually attended the rally that we did. We believe that the workforce program, it can be in the Bronx, it can be citywide. Many of them will benefit from it, especially now that the city, including the mayor, is on the verge of cleaning up Canal Street. So I have been in contact with your office, but it would be awesome to have a moment of your time so we can actually have some concrete solution in regarding to their need in regards to workforce. But thank you so much for taking the time for being here and for listening to our community members and their needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much for coming. You leave me inspired to work harder and do more and try to figure out more solutions. But I just want to also congratulate you because I know it is not easy to organize constituents, right? And folks who are in need and are on the front lines of the support that you're seeking, you know, to provide them. It's very difficult to then also have them to get here and speak for themselves. So I congratulate you. I welcome more conversation. And I thank every single person who is here for your participation.
Thank you. All right. Cool na nee na li nga xam ne moom mi ngi leen di remercier pour ñëw bi ngeen ñëw aussi mu wax ne remercier fondation bi parce que lii yombul nit ñi nga ranger la leen ñu ñëw pour wax li nga xam ne mooy seen soxla donc nee na mi ngi leen di remercier beneen conversation bu ci des aussi dinañ ko def ensemble mooy conversation bu ma doon wax sànq ci wàllum canal ñan ci yéen ñooy liggéey canal na góor yëpp yëkkati seen loxo Oh, okay. Yeah. So all of these guys. Okay. All right. So yeah. So thank you again for listening to us. We truly appreciate it. And we look forward working with you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
so much. Thank you.
This was for.
Yes, and if anybody had not submitted a slip but did speak, if you could just make sure that we have their name for the record. Yeah. We will now turn to remote testimony. Once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you and the Sergeant at Arms will give you the go-ahead to begin. Please wait for the Sergeant to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. Dr. Tabitha Julian.
You may begin.
Hi, good afternoon. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Tabitha Julian. I am a public health researcher and journalist focused on housing instability, housing insecurity, and housing policy as drivers of health. And I'm also a rent-stabilized tenant in New York City. I'm also a first-generation immigrant. My family came to this country and into a rent-stabilized apartment. My research examines patterns of landlord rent stabilization non-compliance, and I conducted a study from 2016 to 2021 analyzing these trends, including lease renewal failures, rent overcharges, and rent reductions in services across gentrifying and non-gentrifying neighborhoods. What I found is that landlord rent stabilization non-compliance is not random, but it is concentrated. It is significantly more common in rent-stabilized units located in gentrifying neighborhoods where there is an increased pressure to displace tenants. These patterns reflect what I describe as structural harassment, systemic practices that destabilize tenants and create ongoing threats of displacement even within a regulated system. This is especially concerning because immigrants make up a substantial share of rent-stabilized tenants in New York City, meaning these patterns disproportionately impact immigrant communities. So when we talk about harassment, we are not only talking about isolated incidents, we are talking about a broader system of landlord rent stabilization noncompliance that creates sustained instability, displacement pressure, and harm. These conditions are not only structural, they are also physical and psychological, producing chronic stress, fear, and a loss of safety that directly impacts tenants' health and well-being. And I want to be clear, this is not something that I just study. It is something that I am currently experiencing. For the past several years, my neighbors
Thank
and
you. Your
I,
time
an
expired.
organized tenant body, have...
You may conclude, but your time has expired, so you can quickly conclude.
For the past several years, my neighbors and I, an organized tenant body, have taken the appropriate steps to address ongoing harassment in our building. We partnered with a community-based legal organization called Communities Resist and filed a harassment case in housing court. The case has now been pending for approximately 3 to 4 years with no meaningful movement. It is not on the calendar and we haven't been called to testify, and there have been no updates. At the same time, the harassment has escalated. I have experienced tampering and theft of my personal mail containing highly sensitive information, interference with my personal property, and incidents that have made my living environment unsafe. I have also experienced as a tenant organizer, my management company calling the police on our organizing efforts at least twice. In the context of this hearing, that is deeply concerning. For many immigrant tenants, any interaction with law enforcement carries fear of exposure or potential entanglement with immigration enforcement. The presence of police alone can silence organizing efforts and discourage tenants from asserting their rights. When landlords use law enforcement in response to organizing, it creates a chilling effect, particularly in immigrant communities already living with the fear of ICE and deportation. I reported all of these issues to my local precinct and was told to take them to landlord-tenant court. I also contacted the New York State Attorney General's office and was told that they could not intervene because the case is already in court. So despite going through every appropriate system, housing court, law enforcement, and the Attorney General, no system has taken responsibility and the harm continues. As a result, I am currently displaced from my home. And while the Certificate of No Harassment program is an important step, it is limited by design. It's a pilot program and only applies to certain buildings and is triggered only when landlords seek permits, not when tenants are actively experiencing harm. A system that activates only during redevelopment cannot address ongoing structural harassment or protect tenants in real time. I urge the council to recognize that landlord rent stabilization, noncompliance, and housing harassment, especially in immigrant communities, are public health crises that require urgent, real-time enforcement. Specifically, I suggest make tenant harassment reportable through 311, creating an immediate pathway for intervention. Also, to ensure rapid response enforcement by HPD similar to their emergency repair responses, expand CONH beyond a limited reactive pilot, and strengthen protections for tenant organizers and immigrant tenants, particularly against retaliation involving law enforcement. Because without enforcement, rent stabilization is not protection.
Thank you,
It
Dr.
is a
Julian.
promise that is not being upheld. As
Okay.
a researcher, I also
Dr.
want to emphasize that,
Dr. Julian,
that
I'm
there's a
sorry.
strong opportunity.
Dr. Julian, I'm sorry, your time, you're about double time. But I encourage you to please submit your testimony so that we can take a closer look at the situation you're describing as a test case and invite you to let us know about more about your case on an individual basis. So we'll try to get your email so that we can open up a channel of communication with you. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for participating today. And the next person is Christopher Leon Johnson.
You may begin.
Yeah, hello. My name is Christopher Leon Johnson. I support your bill when it comes to the Certificate of No Harassment program. I want to make this clear that the New York City Council needs to introduce a bill to where that the NYPD will be barred from working with the marshals when it comes to evicting tenants. The thing that nobody said today is that I think Kaban will make it later on that the police and real estate works together, and that's a big problem. Let's make it clear that I know there's nothing to do with the topic at hand, but there's a lot of these buildings that are ran by cops, and they work hand in hand with the police to harass people that who they don't approve of, and especially when it comes to tenant organizing, it's like the worst. These landlords are friends with the police, and so when they call the cops will always take the side of the landlord, or some I call the slumlord, over the tenants. And I think going forward, the city council need to make it where that had to stop. And I hope that our mayor Madani, because he's acting like he care about tenants, make this stop. And I'll say this right now that it is not about having sham hearings like what happened in the mayor's office. It's about really making real action. And the executive director of the Office to Protect Tenants, C. Weaver, needs to be on top of this. And like I said, there's a lot of tenant harassment that happens all over the city. But like I said, unless there's bills that can really mitigate tenant harassment, especially when it comes to cops working with these landlords and slumlords to harass people, even organizing, and to the point of where working with the New York City marshals to evict people, nothing really going to change. Because, like I said, I think the last session that I think the last year that cops always make things worse when it comes to like tenant issues. And I'll say this right now that the reason there's a lot of tenant harassment because they want people who makes less than market
Thank
rate
you. Your
rent
time
out of the area.
expired.
All right, thank you so much. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Ryan Patrick Cole.
You may begin.
Felicia Gordon.
You may begin.
Thank you. If we have inadvertently missed anyone that has registered to testify today and has yet to be called, please use the Zoom raise hand function if you are testifying remotely, and you will be called in the order that your hand has been raised. If you are testifying in person, please come to the dais. Seeing none, I will now close the hearing. Thank you to the members of the administration and the members of the public who have joined us today. This hearing is adjourned.